Hey everybody, I'm Captain Tommy Scoble, and you are on the lifeboat. What's happening? Good Monday morning, people. Back to work. Back to the real world. So, good God. So yesterday, I took a little time. Hey, Kevin Hawthorne, good to see you, man, from Lakeland, Florida. Kevin, I appreciate you, man. I'm glad you found the boat. Thank you for the email. So I took a day off yesterday, people. A whole one. Don't know that I've ever taken a whole one. If I have, it's been a really, really long time. And everybody involved agrees that self-care is important. It really is. You know, if you don't take care of yourself, there's a million cliches, right? Can't pour from an empty vessel. Get that oxygen mask on yourself before you start putting it on other people, right? Because if you're not sober, nothing else good is going to happen, right? That's the idea. So I took the time off because I was getting slightly. I found myself leaving comments to people that were not particularly nice, right? I'll be really honest. 20% of comments left by anybody on the boat just pissed me off. Be really honest with you. I think about 20% is probably in the ballpark. People who will just say really stupid things. I got an email yesterday that was CC'd to like 5 people, right? And it was saying, "Boy, I hate to disagree with you on the sentencing thing of Danny Masterson, and here's why you're wrong." And you know what? We'll agree to disagree. No problem whatsoever. In fact, that kind of makes the world go round, right? No one's going to agree on everything. It's rare that people agree on anything, much less everything. But let me tell you a couple of things that make this a little bit different, right? He was being sentenced under 2003 law. When he goes up for parole, he's going to be going to a parole board that every single day is doing parole on what? 2023. There are really big differences between the two laws. One of which is the fact that in the commission of one of the crimes, he used a gun, right? We'll agree to disagree. But the cat that wrote me the letter said, what leads me to believe that this is the case is my homeboy best friend pen pal, who's doing 60 years in prison for sexual assault, told me this, and this, and he got his first parole hearing. I'll be really honest with you, man. If you're comfortable spending decades writing to a person like this, I don't know that I want you here, bro. On the bright side, you CC'd like 5 other channels. So just take mine off of your name, off of your list, and go to the other ones. I'm sorry. I know that everybody in the world needs, everyone in the world needs someone to be their advocate, right? If you're the most guilty human being in the entire world, there needs to be one person who's going to pretend that you are innocent. In their head, they're going to believe you didn't do it. And then they're going to go out in front of a jury of 12 and lie to them, right? Because that's what their job is. And you can't hate them. Someone has to do it, right? Because for the legal system to work, the dirtbag who's getting charged for bank robbery needs to get treated the same way the president would if he was getting charged for bank robbery. That's the theory, right? That's how it's supposed to work in our justice system. The reason that there's so many people talking about this case and people arguing for, I don't know that he did it, or I thought he got too much time, is because nobody does any research. Nobody read his own words. Nobody knows that this wasn't run of the mill. I'm not trying to embarrass any group of people, especially some ladies that I've come to know and really respect. But I'll tell you this. Assaults of this kind come in as many different flavors as addiction does. In other words, there's no such thing as a cut and dry SA. In some cases, they call it date R, where somebody pushes too far, right? Steals someone's ability to say no. But they're not ripping clothing off, tackling someone out of an automobile, right? Obviously, there's a bunch of different levels of the kind of depravity that causes someone to do something like this. If If the person you assaulted has to go to a hospital and require stitches, multiple stitches in multiple places, the person that did it is a sick piece of shit who deserves to die. Since unfortunately, we don't have a country that has its shit together when it comes to people like that. What we get instead is 30 years. So if you're really happy that he's going to get to see the parole board say 7 or 8 years earlier than that, right? Because your best friend, child molester, also is getting the same thing, walk off the boat for real. I'm not putting you on Front Street. I didn't say your name or anything like that, but walk off the boat. Because next time I'll say your name and I'll give out your email address. And people can write to you and say, why do you think it's cool that people do things like that? Right? So how do we do that? Right? How about it? How about it? How about it? Okay. Vacations have a screwy way of messing with me on the lifeboat. And it's probably because I'm a really sick person. And you know what, Lene? Lene says, I'm sick and tired of Danny Masterson. I don't blame you. I am too. I'm definitely sick and tired of Danny Masterson. Sadly, as a society, we do that, right? I don't want to hear about this anymore. Why do I got to keep hearing about this, man? Tired of hearing about this. Well, because if I can come on here and say, if you defend a rapist to me again, I'm kicking your ass off of my channel, right? That needs to be said, Lene. So requires me coming on here and talking about Danny Masterson again. And I'll say to everybody else, if it's too much, there's the that little thing that leads off. You can come on back on the next one. This needed to be talked about. And you know something else? I'm going to talk about everything that needs to be talked about. Sorry. I spent a lot of time on this channel walking on eggshells. And what I realized is this. I don't make everybody happy walking on eggshells. I don't, right? If I made everybody happy walking on eggshells, I wouldn't feel good. I'd feel like a hypocrite and a piece of crap. But I would do it, right? Because I would like to keep as much harmony on a channel like this as I possibly could. So I'll do the eggshell walking thing if it keeps everybody happy. But you know what? It doesn't keep everybody happy. I walk on eggshells anyway, and it doesn't keep anybody happy. I get the same number of complaints, right, from people who hate me because I'm a Democrat, or people who hate me because I'm a Republican. Amazing. It really is. It's amazing. So the idea is we're all trying to get through this life, right? And we're going to try to get through it in a way that makes sense to us. That's a really difficult thing because there's no friggin' owner's manual for us. And let's be really honest. If while you were growing into what you were going to become, and during that 7 or 8 minute pivotal period of time in the development of your brain, mom's breathing in diesel fumes at a bus stop. What does that do? Well, the answer is we don't have any idea what it does. But we do know that things that small can change things massively. Hey, Tim, I get it. I get it. And I appreciate the fact that you want to defend. All I'm saying is this. There are things that you can say in the comment section that maybe before you say it, just go, anyone who reads this, are they going to think I'm talking to Tommy or are they going to think I'm talking to the world? I'll be really honest. I don't care one way or the other. If you're tired of hearing about it and it has nothing to do with me, I still don't care. People get tired of hearing about stuff like this, right? Because it's uncomfortable. So we stop talking about it. And asshats like him breed. We've talked about this, right? I came on here and quoted Viktor Frankl 100 times. The only thing that needs to happen for bad crap to go rampant is for good men to say nothing. Right? Well, hey, I'm not bummed out at you. I'm just saying There's a lot of people who I've gotten emails from people who say the next time you talk about DM, I'm gone. Ooh, there it is. It's a big red exit sign in the back. I'm not doing this anymore. Not doing this anymore on eggshells. Sorry. And I'm not going to be a jerk. I'm not. But when I walk out that door and the inside of my mouth tastes like crap, I'm doing something wrong. You understand? Or if I start thinking to myself, damn, I got a boat I got to do at 5. If I start thinking I got to do a lifeboat, then there's something really wrong going on. You feel me? One of the reasons that victims of crimes like this suffer the way that they do is nobody wants to hear it. Oh, God, really? Someone did what to you? Oh, honestly, that kind of bums me out, man. I don't like hearing about that. So maybe we could stop talking about it. Maybe we could just ignore it, right? And if you got to write about it on the newspaper or whatever, man, put it at the end of the paper. This is depressing stuff, isn't it? Just takes good men to be silent. So when I walk out that door, I'm just going to be the jerk I am, but I'm not going to be a hypocrite. And I'm not going to be somebody that feels like he's doing something that is against his very fabric, right? See, unfortunately, when I redesigned the Tommy Skill bill, right, Brett was a piece of shit. So when I sat down to redesign who that person was, and I did the Tommy Skillville thing, sadly, the first thing that I put on the top of the list was I wasn't going to lie anymore. In any of its forms, I wasn't going to lie anymore. Right? Because I lied to everybody. Because I lied to everybody about everything. So I said, I'm not going to lie to anybody anymore about anything. And the people who know me well, I will give you this advice always. Do not ask me a question if the worst case scenario is an answer that's going to decimate you, because I may answer it that way. So don't ask me any questions you don't want to know the answers to, because I'm not sugarcoating stuff, because it's just a different form of lying, right? I'm not doing it. So it's in our best interest. And I'm not talking about a boat or a channel or anything else, but it's in our best interest to deal with the uncomfortable. It's a pretty good idea, in my opinion. I have not heard of any method really of benzo withdrawal. If there, I promise you, by the next time I do a show, I'll know everything there is to know about that. I have not heard of it, but if they're coming up with something that is a protocol, like a legit protocol for benzo withdrawal, yeah, I will research that, because it hasn't been. It's been a difficult thing for people to try to get off for a long time. It's and it's not as well understood. It's not, you don't see, until recently, you didn't see as many people abusing that and trying to get off of it. You know, most people who are abusing benzos have a doctor, right? There aren't too many people that go to the street corner pharmacist, you know, and buy Valium and singles. People just go get prescriptions for these things. So when they start getting a little squirrely, or they start getting nervous about the amount of it that they're consuming or whatever, there's usually somebody right there that they got to talk to at least every month. But I will look into that. I don't know what that is. Yeah. So, yeah. People, this week, I am going to be doing some work with a couple of people. I'm going to be doing a project with a couple of people, a couple of YouTubers, and it's something that I'm going to be working on. I'm not going to be missing the 5s, right? I'll be here in the morning and I'll be here at night. I'm not sure how much I'm going to be cramming in other than that. I don't know if I'll be doing third shows during the day, at least for a bit. Yeah, Johnny is going to be here. I'm not exactly sure what day, but it's going to be this week. So I will be picking Johnny up. And obviously, when Johnny gets here, I'll be acting stupid for a week because it's what we do. But yeah, there's going to be Tim. Yeah, what's really sad is this, and there are going to be people who don't like how I handled this morning. I'll get some emails about it, and when I hang up, there'll be 5 less subscribers. That's usually how it works. And by the way, they don't leave. I found over time by looking at analytics that when you get 30 or 40 people to bail off on you, it does nothing to drop your numbers. Because what people are doing really is they're saying, well, I'll show him. I'll just unsubscribe. But they continue to watch. So on a podcast I was listening to the other day, someone said they think the reason Law and Order SVU is still so popular is because the victims are believed. That's a really interesting thing to say. It's a really interesting thing to say. Yeah, I think I could take that one further because this is something that I actually used to watch. I mean, 20 years ago, the Dick Wolf show that the original Dick Wolf show, the original Law and Order, spun off into something called SVU, which is a Special Victims Unit, which deals with SA crimes, right? Exclusively, that's the kind of crimes they deal with. One of the other reasons that it's so popular is because they yank those storylines out of newspapers. They have never denied it. Like if something really big happened, you were going to see it on Law and Order. They were going to change the names. They were going to change some other things, but they took the plot lines directly out of real life. Like they would take what happened, with DM, and they would write about how an actor, and they would bring a lot of elements of very real cases into the show. So I think that had a big part of it as well. And the other thing is, it's like watching wrestling, right? You have over the top good guys and you have over the top bad guys. And on shows like SVU, the guy that committed the crime, he didn't just commit the crime. He committed the crime and then, giggles about it and writes letters about how much fun he had, right? They make him the biggest scumbag in the world because they want you to really root against him. And they really give you an opportunity to find out who the victim is, right? And they make a point of making that victim likable, right? In real life, most of them are very likable. So I think that the reason that it's popular is because, we watch how it should happen, right? A woman goes in and reports it. They take it seriously as hell. They treat her with respect, right? And then she gets justice. In a world where that doesn't happen, watching it happen is entertainment. I completely see why SVU is popular. And Jane Mansfield's daughter also was the lead actress in that, and she's an excellent actress. She really is. Jeremy Sheldon says, mind over matter. I don't mind because it doesn't matter. Don't let the small minority get to you. Some people just like to be negative. I absolutely agree with you. I do. And every single day since September 7th, I've gotten 30 emails or more. I would say on average about 30 a day, believe it or not, from people that are probably paid to email me in all honesty, but who just take the opposite side and beat it on it all day long. And you don't hear me say a thing. You don't. I don't come on and talk about it. I don't let it get to me. It doesn't bother me. I get 2 of those from people who are on this lifeboat, who are legitimate crew members. That's when I start getting pissed off. Because if you watch me every single day on this show and you're still unhappy that I'm picking this war or that war, then I don't think you get me. I don't think you get me. Right? At all. I guess you can take the convict out of prison. but it's a bitch taking prison out of the convict. And I just, I don't know. I guess I look at people in a really different way. Certain people, right? And there are people for whom this is a coping mechanism. You do realize that. So as we talk about all of the different things that people can do in order to try to deal with a life that doesn't work well, right? How do we do it? Well, you've got drugs. People go to religion or cults, right? People become exercise like over the top, where they care so much about what they eat and what they're hyper focused. What they're all trying to do is find something to be hyper focused about, so that they don't have to deal with the real things in their life, which they don't want to focus on at all, right? It's why we procrastinate. It's why we say, "Oh, that's uncomfortable. I'm putting that out of my head." Well, no, I won't do that. I'll just put something else in my head, and I'll learn to cope that way. And what I'll put in my head is heroin, right? Heroin works fantastic. One of the greatest things for what it was designed to do. Boy, they hit it out of the park. The great people at Bayer Aspirin, when they invented heroin and patented it, knew what they were doing. It was an amazing painkiller. Sadly, it killed kinds of pain that it was not designed to kill, like spiritual or emotional, right? If it just did physical pain, if they could figure out a way to keep that stuff from getting the rest of you to feel good, right? Then we'd be in good shape. Because if you have a broken thigh, they should be able to do something to make it so that the femoral break doesn't cause you more pain than anything that you can imagine, right? There has to be something for that. Snotface, good to see you. I'm always glad you're here, hon. But we end up with a group of people out there who choose as their coping mechanism to become asshats professionally. Okay. So they take about 3 or 4 hours a day and they go on YouTube and they go after people who are content creators, right? People who create. Now, I don't care if you think the people creating are creating stupid things and they're blithering idiots, or if it's a guy from Harvard who's, fantastic and he's telling you information that you've never heard and you're taking notes as fast as you can. It doesn't matter one way or the other, right? They're creating content and they're putting it up. Some of it is ridiculous. Some of it is very jackass-like. I've done enough of it. But content creators, well, the people who want to use coping mechanisms like trolling or being unkind. John, good to see you. Oddly enough, looks like Guacaholic at one time or another may have worked for the Sackler family in their public relations department. This sounds just about right from 1990. Food and Drug Administration here, and we have this stuff called OxyContin. It's great for pain, but don't worry, it's totally not addictive, not in the slightest. Go ahead, take bunches of it. You'll love it. I promise. See, the trouble is that's pretty close to the marketing campaign. And the guys at the FDA who approved it, every last one of them, when they left the FDA, they went to work for where? You got it. The Sackler family, right? Couldn't be anything illegal going on there, right? They weren't slipping each other any cash back or forth. Hey, look, man, pass this crap. I know they don't pay you anything over there. In 2 years, you quit. You come over here and we'll just keep putting zeros on the end of that check until you don't care how many people die, right? Mr. Sackler himself, not Arthur. He was long too gone. His brother sat in a meeting. And this is a problem because meetings, they record everything you say, right? They take a record of the meetings, the minutes, everything that happened. Well, this genius sat in there and they said, hey, the amount of people that are getting addicted to this are not 3%, which is what they had been told, right? That's what they were telling everybody. Less than 3%, less than 3%, less than 3%. Well, that wasn't the truth. In fact, their numbers had it closer to 23%, right? That's a big jump. That's a really big jump. And then they listed the number of people that had overdosed and died on his product. And he said, really? I really thought it would be a lot higher than that. How's that? In a board meeting with people listening. I love capitalism. I do. I'm a capitalist pig. But I understand people who hate capitalism. And it's because of guys like Sackler. It's because of the people who at a car company said, we got seatbelts that 6% of the time when you get into an accident, don't actually grab you, right? Which means the person is going to hit the windshield. Their head is going to go back like that. And that's going to be the end of the ball game, right? Airbag's not going to do anything because that thing is just going to, but they knew about it ahead of time. Fortunately, only a couple of people had died from this. There had been some accidents and a couple of deaths. So in a stockholders meeting where minutes were taken, one of the big three automakers, by the way, the original big three automakers, sat in there and then said to their people, all right, so let's crunch the numbers. If we pay every family that loses a loved one because of this $1 million, is that going to cost the company less money than if we were to just do a recall on the entire thing? Because we know that only X number of percentage of these things are bad. And how many of those accidents are going to actually end up in deaths? And they sat and negotiated what would be better for the stockholders and the bottom line, to allow a crap load of people to die or to recall this. Which one's the money? If you have to have that conversation, that's no longer capitalism, right? I don't know what it is. Satanism, right? I don't know what the hell it is. Pure evil. Pure evil. But this does happen constantly. This happens constantly. And it happens at the upper echelons of companies that people like to hate, that I promise you are long past being companies anymore, right? For real. They went zipping right by being a company a long time ago. Let's use the people that pay my paycheck, right? You know who owns the big red button, right? So if you know who owns the big red button, those people decide what you look at. If I type in something, what I'm saying is, can you please give me information on this? Well, they're going to go, I'd like to give him some information, but I don't want to give him the information that is exactly what he's looking for. I think I can convince him something otherwise if I give him this information, right? Boy, we put a lot of faith in him, don't we? For real. Because we assume that whatever we read is fact. It rose to the top of search engine optimization. It's got to be the truth, right? Or somebody paid, right? You can do Google AdWords, and if you just pay enough money, you're the first thing that pops up. I promise you, I did it for a long time. It is possible. Tommy, I believe that is homicide. Goddess Divine, I wish I knew what that was in reference to. Is Suboxone habit forming? Absolutely. Absolutely. Suboxone is habit forming. It is habit forming in a different way than any other opiate because it is not, it's such a hard thing to explain, but what it comes down to is that that drug does two things, and they are honestly the exact opposite of what a drug should do. Talking about automakers. Thank you, Goddess Divine. Yeah, and you're right. I think I'd go with murder, right? Because premeditation is what makes something become murder one, right? Well, if you're sitting in there and doing this one and saying, if we don't recall them and we just let them die, how much money are we saving? Okay. To me, that sounds pretty premeditated. They did the math and thought, we're going to end up saving about $100 million by letting, say, 600 people die. Right? Pretty crazy, isn't it? Jonesy. So let me explain this to you. As bad as methadone. The difference between methadone is a real opioid, right? It's a synthetic, and the reason that they used it to treat drug addiction, specifically the trying to get people off of other opiates, is because it is the longest acting opiate you're ever going to put in your body, right? So the half-life is, how long does it take for half of the milligrams that you just took to be processed out of your body? Right? That is what is referred to as the half-life of a drug. I'm going to throw these numbers out. They're not real, but they will make you understand this in a very easy way. If you were to take like a Loratab or something along those lines, right? You're probably looking at a half-life of about 8 hours, right? So 8 hours after you take that pill, half of it's going to be gone. So you could see that if you're stacking it, if you're taking pills every day, then you're going to get to a time where you've got a lot of that crap in your body because there's stuff leaving, there's stuff coming in at all times, and it starts to build up. Okay. Methadone. You take 10 milligrams of methadone, right? In that same period of time, that 8 hours, you might have lost a milligram. In fact, the half-life part is going to be past the first day, okay? So the first day, you're not really losing anything, right? But they're going to give you 250 milligrams or whatever of this every day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and just continue to do this forever, right? I'm not a mathematician. I was told there would be no math. But if it was 100 milligrams a day, once you start doing the math about how long it takes for the stuff to get out of your system, by the time you are 6 years into taking this stuff, you've got thousands and thousands of milligrams of this stuff in your body. The idea being, well, now we can start backing you off and you're never going to know because you've got all of this stocked up anyway. So you're not going to notice that we're taking it down little by little. Really, literally trading one for another, off street dope to legal dope. Yeah, I would say that you're trading one for the other. Always you are. There's no question because they're both going to be an addiction. I was addicted to heroin for 30 years, right? In that time, I robbed more banks than you can imagine. And I did a lot of other really heinous things. I destroyed the life of almost every person I came in contact with, especially if they were a woman. And was a crap father, didn't raise his kids right. The swap off was for this. I've never waited in a parking lot for somebody to bring me this. I've never committed a crime to get this. I've never lied to anybody because I was on this, right? I didn't have to tell anybody on the boat ever at any point that I'm on this. No one would have known, right? There's no shame in my life that I take this. I was really ashamed that I took heroin, but I traded one drug that was destroying my life for one that completely rebuilt it. Now, to be clear, when this started, this was my everyday, right? This is what I took every morning to not think about dope ever again. I don't get a buzz. I don't feel any psychological effect of this. Like I don't get euphoric. None of these things happen. But what happens is now I don't wait in parking lots for 4 or 5 hours a day. I don't spend 3 hours a day stealing. Okay. So it gets crazy how much more I can get done in my life, how much people get treated better if I do this stuff versus the other stuff. Now, this one's gone, and that is what I take now, right? If this thing was one big one, that's what I take now. I literally am taking a half a milligram. I started at 16. It does not take that long to taper off of Suboxone. And it is actually kind of built that way. It is built for you to taper off. Theoretically, methadone, the theory behind methadone was the same thing. The trouble is that the people who hand out methadone, they do these at methadone clinics, right? And they're drug dealers. Make no mistake, they are drug dealers. And it is, you get a very different vibe at a methadone clinic than you would when you're talking to a doctor about Suboxone, because you're sitting in a room, big long line waiting to go in. Sometimes that line is out into the street at 5 a.m. in the morning because people got to get there and get that poison so that they don't do the other poison. Right? The problem with, in my opinion, the problem with doing methadone as opposed to doing Suboxone is that methadone keeps you in the lifestyle, right? It keeps you living like you kind of like you did when you were doing heroin. And what I mean by that is I gotta go run to go meet the guy, right? I'm not gonna pick up a prescription, take it home, and for 30 days not worry about drugs, right? No, every day I'm gonna have to go drive over to the dope man's house, which in this case is a methadone clinic. And I gotta wait because a bunch of people showed up to buy at the same time. And then they're gonna treat me like a criminal or like a convict, because when I go up, they're gonna go, all right, take that right here. You got to do it in front of me. All right, open your mouth, stick your tongue out, run your fingers like this under your gums. You drink liquid, right? You're not taking a pill. You drink liquid, and they want you to go like this, rub it. I'm starting to feel like a criminal again, right? What made Suboxone incredible for me was that I was treated like a criminal. I get treated like a guy who has a disease. In fact, the first doctor that wrote me the prescription for this said, oh, at the time I was taking something for high blood pressure, which is really funny because my blood pressure is so low now. But I was on high blood pressure medication at one time. And when I agreed with the woman to go on Suboxone, I guess I kind of got a look on my face. And keep in mind, I was 5 years sober at this point, but white knuckling it and not having a very good time. And when she said, you should really, give this Suboxone thing a try. I said, yeah. And I got the look on my face. And she said, what's the other drug you're taking? I said, lisinopril. She goes, you should see the difference on your face when you say Suboxone versus lisinopril. And I'm like, duh, because one of them means I'm addicted to heroin. And the other one, she said, listen, both of them mean you have a disease, right? Heart disease, you're taking this one. For the disease called addiction, you take this one, right? I know that there's a lot of people that I'm supposed to get another Sublocade shot, but I might just skip it. Guac, talk to your doctor. And I've heard other people say that they didn't feel like they needed Sublocade after a short enough period of time. Sublocade, if you don't know what that is, Sublocade is a ability to put Suboxone into your body like a month at a time, right? You get it in a shot. So instead of having to take this every morning and stick it under your tongue, you get a shot once a month. Does the exact same thing. So you say, so the only convenience is that you don't have to do this every morning, and it's a lot more expensive, right? No, the difference is you will forget you're on drugs. Every morning I go like this and put one of these under my tongue for the rest of my life. It says, boy, this is a lot better than heroin. And it keeps you on the straight and narrow, so you got nothing to feel guilty about. This is the speech that my brain gives myself every single morning. But if I got a shot of Sublocade on Monday, by Wednesday, that burning in my stomach, from the needle is gone. And by, say, 3 days later, I'm just living. I get up in the morning, I go do what I do, right? And the last thing on my mind is drugs. I don't even have to be reminded of drugs in the morning when I take anything. And that becomes something that is really huge. The trouble is that Sublocade is new. And when something is new, the companies that make it need to, they're justified, according to the FDA, in charging us on average about 85% more than any other country pays for the exact same medication, right? I live on the Mexican border. I could drive across the border and buy my medications that would cost me thousands of dollars in the United States, would cost me hundreds, if not less than 100 in Mexico. Because our Food and Drug Administration says, well, you had to drop. No, Jonesy, it's for life because I chose for it to be for life. There are a ton of people who have chosen to get off of it. And I have twice tapered off this Got it completely out of my life. Did it very easily without any pain. Done it twice. And then what happened is 3 or 4 weeks in, I'm looking at my journal writings and I'm not the guy that I was when I was taking this, right? For me, I was on, and everybody's different, but I did so much dope for so long that if I'm not tickling the MU receptor in one way or another, I'm not going to be able to do all of the things that I give advice to you people to do, right? Get up, get out of the room, walk, do all of those things. I promise you, I wasn't capable of doing any of those things. And instead, what I got was angry. And people on the boat could probably tell you, the old timers would go, oh, I remember when he quit. Good God. Right? Because that MU receptor all of a sudden goes, hey, wait a second. You're not going to take care of us anymore. Let's make his left knee hurt, right? He's blown that out. Let's make his shoulders hurt. He's had 8 shoulder surgeries, right? How about the Achilles tendon, right? 4 Achilles tendon surgeries. Get that hurt. That hand that had all the bones replaced in it, man, make that arthritic. 1 broken neck, 2 broken backs, right? Broke my neck the other way around. Broke my neck twice and my back once. All those pains come. Quiet girl. JJ, thank you so much. I'm so sorry that I can't read that, but quiet girl, thank you. And I'm glad that I saw it because I haven't been reading a lot of the comments. I did an interview with a doctor by the name of Jetmore, Dr. Jetmore. Go back and find the interview I did with Dr. Jetmore. He was responsible for an entire state for putting together their Suboxone program, right? He was over the top of that for an entire state. Now, the really funny thing is, he'll tell you straight out in the interview that when he got hired on, he said he was not very fond of drug addicts. And why? Well, because they're lazy, right? Because they don't take any responsibility for anything they do. They're dishonest. They steal, right? And they don't care enough about anything else in life. That dope has got to be more important than even family, and I can't respect that. That was his thought. And then he started treating people with Suboxone. And he said, and I watched those people that I hated for all of those reasons, and they weren't them anymore. All of a sudden, they were coming in, and Dr. Jetmore would say, hey, how you doing? How have things been since the last time I saw you? Well, I got a job. Oh, man, that's awesome. Yeah. And I'm moving into an apartment on Thursday. And he said he just watched people, and he's been doing this a really long time. And he said, and some of those people that got apartments went and got houses a few years later. It's not the drug that this stuff is going to, the gift is not that I don't have to feel like I need this stuff. It's not the gift, right? It's a gift, but that's not the gift. The gift is the entire lifestyle that I had to do, which took 20 hours a day. Stealing, fencing, right? Waiting in parking lots, finding places that I could shoot, right? Trying to look for a bathroom because I'm 20 minutes from my house and I'm going like this, right? Looking for a public restroom to go in, hoping that the employee doesn't come in while you got a needle in your arm. But everything that I did was a full-time job, and it took like 20 hours a day, for real, right? For 3 decades. This eliminates all that. It doesn't just take away a craving. It takes away the fact that you got to call somebody in order to come bring you your medication every single day, twice a day, 3 times a day, that you got to go wait in the parking lots of usually fast food restaurants, where sometimes you wait for 3 hours, right? Something comes up, they keep telling you 5 minutes. And I remember sitting for 3 hours. That was my record, waiting for one guy. You know what, people? I would not wait 3 hours for anything. I promise you. Wait online for 3 hours. Very few things. I would really have to care about something, right? But I would do it every single day for 4 years if that's what it took to get what I needed. I lost someone. Here we go. I was hooked on Percocet for a few years. That Suboxone is addictive too. It's a great tool to get off opiates. I need to wean off the subs now. It is definitely addictive. It is. But unlike every other opiate, like if you're an opiate addict, right? If you suffer from opiate abuse disorder, then you've probably tried to get yourself off of whatever your drug is on your own. It doesn't happen. If it did, we wouldn't need any other drug. We wouldn't need methadone. We wouldn't need Sublocade. We wouldn't need Suboxone or Subutex. None of those, right? We would just take the Percocet, and then we would cut down on the Percocet. So I'm taking 30 today. I'll take 15 tomorrow. Your body will revolt. I promise you, it does not allow that to happen. It doesn't. It works really well with Suboxone. And it does because of a lot of stuff that people who are far more intelligent than me explain much better than I do. But what it comes down to is that one of the ingredients in this is designed to knock opiates off of your opiate receptors. That's in there. Also in there is an agonist and an antagonist. So one turns one on, one turns one off. You're taking a drug that makes no sense. When you read it on paper, you look at it and you're like, it does not sound like this could possibly work, but it does. The nice thing with Suboxone is you can just keep cutting your dose in half. It's exactly how I got from 16 to a half a milligram. And it was not difficult, not even a little. Take time. If you're going to say, now's the time where I want to get off Suboxone, took me 30 years, right, to get off heroin. So if I decided to get off Suboxone, I'll give it a year. Right? That doesn't seem like a bad, but now I could take 16 and cut it into 8, right? In half. You will not notice the first half when you're on the top. You won't. You might, the first day you might, but you won't even know what you're noticing. It's negligible at best. So then you take that 8 and you cut it in half. You got 4. Make that 4 go 2 weeks. Let your body adjust for 2 weeks to your new dose before you cut it in half again. If you try to do it in a week, which I've done, you can absolutely kick in a week with it. You're going to get some withdrawal symptoms. They're going to be like getting a very mild case of the flu versus feeling like you're going to die, which is what, normal withdrawal is like. But I'll tell you what, Stephen, great trade. Percocet is hydrocodone, right? No, it's oxycodone. When you take oxycodone and put a patented type of release onto the pill, right? There used to be a pill called MS Contin. Contin was the delivery system, and the MS was morphine sulfate. They were using this with people who were going to die, right? This was hospice. They didn't have to worry about addiction or anything else because they're not going to care if they're addicted. They're dying. Stephen, you traded one for another. Absolutely you did. Absolutely you did. What do I think of kratom? Kratom is going to do the exact same thing that you're trying to get off with the other ones. It's going to hit the MU receptor, and it's going to get your MU receptor to release chemicals that are going to make you feel high. Except kratom is coming from places that are going to call it a dietary supplement. They're going to call it all kinds of things so that they can fly under the radar and never have to have anybody look at it for purity, for anything. So you don't know what you're getting from one to the next. You Google kratom with a plus sign, fentanyl, and watch how many places have been caught putting fentanyl into a jar of kratom. Why would you? Because it's bringing that cat back. I probably that kratom was a little stronger than the previous stuff, but kratom is a root, right? It's everyone goes, it's natural. You don't have to worry about it. It comes from nature. You mean like the freaking poppy? Because the poppy comes from nature and it's been kicking my ass my entire life. Kratom is sold where? Head shops and gas stations, right? Where are you buying? Head shops and gas stations. If you're picking up your drug at a gas station or a head shop, ask yourself what you're buying, right? If this was absolutely a harmless painkiller that could do nothing except benefit humanity, which is what all of the proponents of kratom claim, well, then why don't we just make this it, right? Why don't we sell it at Walmart, General Nutrition Center? Why don't we put kratom everywhere? Hell, this is the best painkiller in the world, right? You can't get addicted to it because that's what everybody who tells me can't get addicted to it, which is really funny because at the moment, I only have 2 people that I'm trying to get off of kratom. But normally, 6 at any given time. or some variation of one of the other, like Zaza Red or all of these other. Well, all it is, they call it gas station or truck stop heroin. Yeah, kratom says on the package, not meant for human consumption. What else are they going to be putting it in that? Oftentimes they can get away with calling it incense. They can call it, like bath salts. You know why bath salts were called bath salts, right? Because that's how they sold them. The idea was you were going to take this substitute of methamphetamine. Do they drink it, brother? You mean the kratom? Well, you can get it into your system any way you want, right? They make it in a shot form, which I would avoid like the plague, because that's going to be the one that it will addict you faster than any other version of it. Normally what you get is powder that comes in big horse choking pills. And when I was at a halfway house, there was a guy taking so much of this stuff, and he would nod the hell out. He'd be nodding out on kratom in the day room, looking just like, any other heroin addict. But I watched this guy go, and a puff of green powder came out. I kid you not. Like he went and burped out like a green mist of powder. I said to the guy, how many of those pills are you taking? And he's like, I take half the bottle in the morning and I take a half a bottle in the afternoon. You're taking a bottle a day? All right, well, that's a problem, isn't it? Did you start taking a bottle a day when you started? No, of course not. No, you see, when I started, it only took a really small amount to get me high. But then I had to start doing more and more and more of it. I'd go, really? That sounds familiar, huh? What has that ever happened before? I'm telling you, people, if somebody comes out with a new drug and it's a miracle, it's going to treat fibromyalgia, it's going to treat all of these things. This is the safest way because it's not really a drug. You think they're going to be trying to get that out to the general public at a Chevron station? They find a miracle cure for pain. I know. We'll sell it where they sell bongs. What you're getting is something designed to get you high, which is why they sell it at head shops. And you know what? If you're taking kratom, God bless you. If you traded heroin for kratom, yeah, you did well. You did well. I mean, kratom's safer than heroin and it's cheaper. But you really now traded one drug for another. I mean, you really did. This drug is designed with one thing in mind, and that is to help people get off of other opiates, right? That's what this is designed for. And for that reason, they put Narcan in to keep you from abusing other things, making it more difficult to inject. You can still inject it. However, if you've been banging heroin every day for 4 months and then you decide to shoot one of these on the same day, watch what will happen to you. But I watched guys in prison shoot these because there was nothing in their body but Suboxone. So there was nothing to knock off the receptors or fight or do any of that stuff with. But this was designed to not play well with others because it was designed to help people get off of stuff. Zaza, Red, kratom, all of those things. Don't woof yourself. No matter what it's being done in other countries. You heard young kids were smoking kratom? I've never heard of that, but that would not surprise me. I took my daughter to Chuck E. Cheese, and unbelievably, they have beer on tap at Chuck E. Cheese. Wow. Maybe they know the target market, right? Maybe they're thinking, you know what? We'll get a lot more parents that will just want. Oh, you do not drink Suboxone. Suboxone comes in this, right? This is a foil sheet. And underneath this, I can't show you what's underneath it because they will freak out. But what is underneath that is what looks like a breath strip. Remember, you used to buy those things at, at checkouts at stores, and it would be like a Listerine breath strip or something breath strip, and you'd put it in your mouth, and it would melt in 1 second, and then you'd have these nice smelling breath for a while, right? Okay. Well, that's what a strip of Suboxone looks like. And it's silica husk, which is the same kind of thing that they use to make Metamucil. And they lay this stuff out on a huge tray right? And it's like gelatinous, and they get it as thin and they roll it thinner and thinner and thinner until the entire thing is this big sheet of orange, right? And then they spray everything on it, right? So they spray this chemical that's going to come on there and make it taste like orange. And then they spray on the actual ingredients that are going to work over the top of that. And that's what you're working with. Tommy, I know a girl that dissolves the strips and shoots them. Absolutely. I know a bunch of people who do that. Smoking Suboxone will not get you high. They may think it does. I have smoked Suboxone. I promise. I smoked a crap load of it in prison trying to get high. A crap load. We went and got a couple of strips, which doesn't sound like a lot of money, but in there it was like $500. And then we sat down and smoked it. Doesn't get you high. I promise you, it doesn't. Yeah, they're not. Yeah, dissolving them, people do shoot them. And I'll tell you, you want to talk about the dumbest idea in the entire world, right? Pay attention. This is silica husk. Not a lot. It's a very thin strip, but it is silica husk, right? What does silica husk do? Well, it's fiber. So when you get it into your body, it binds everything up tighter so that you have a more solid bowel movement, right? That's the idea. But in your blood, you've got platelets, right? Red blood cells, white blood cells, all these things. And what are they floating in? Well, they're floating in this clear liquid called plasma. And the vast majority of plasma is made of what? Water. So we're going to put silica husk directly into our bloodstream. Good thinking, right? What could possibly go wrong? Do you think that maybe the liquid in there might start binding up a little bit, right? Probably not a great idea. Shooting dope. And the funniest part is this. I sat in a cell with a guy and I said to him, I've been studying this crap. Like I had a book sent in on it and everything because I was getting out. This is what I wanted to do. So I'd been reading a bunch of stuff on Suboxone. And I looked at my cellmate who was pulling out his kit, his needle that he had been shooting dope with for 4 years, sharpening it every day, right, on cement so that he could stick it into his arm. Lovely. Made of a Bic pen. And the tip of a needle he was able to steal from medical. Just disgusting. But I said to him, you're not going to get higher shooting that than you are putting it under your tongue. And he's like, of course you are. I said, nope, I promise you you're not. The reason that you put this under your tongue is because it is the best delivery system to get it into your body, right? Pills don't work. They don't have you take, even when it was in pills, don't argue. Even when it was in pills, you put it under your tongue and you let it dissolve. Okay. I have not seen M Hunt this morning. Anik, I have not. I have reached out to him. So I'm waiting to hear back, but I have not seen him yet. Anik, better late than pregnant. I hadn't heard that one before. You do not have to say sorry, I'm late. No one ever has to say sorry, I'm late when you get here. You hear me? Nobody. Maybe there's one or two of you that should apologize if you're late to one of my shows, but the rest of you shouldn't. Okay, sorry, just trying to catch up. Zelda Z. I was on prescription painkillers for 27 years and my pain kept getting worse. Now that I'm off everything, my pain is 80% better. Now I'm hoping my dopamine kicks in again after so many years. Zelda, thank you so much for this comment. So people, she took painkillers for 27 years and the pain kept getting worse. How's that possible? Well, the pain had to keep getting worse, right? Or you wouldn't keep giving your body more of the dope. Your body wants more dope. And how does it do that? The brain pisses off your body. So I've hurt my ankles. Let's make Tommy's ankles hurt. He'll do more dope. I've had 13 knee surgeries. Let's make his knees pissed off. It'll do more dope, right? And the pain just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And finally, at some point, we end up working out an arrangement of some kind, right? Where the brain finally realizes that, you know what? I think he just fed us. Right? What? Yeah, I think he just fed us. I don't feel particularly high. Yeah, me either. But the receptor's covered, right? If something goes in and tickles that MU receptor, one of two things is going to happen, right? You're going to get high, or it's just going to block that receptor off so that nothing else can stick to it, right? Once you do that, my brain for the next 14 hours thinks I just fixed. My brain thinks I just fixed. My brain thinks within the last 4 or 5 minutes, I put a very heavy opiate into my body. I have juked my brain. I'm going to get all kinds of really cool emails because when we do Suboxone shows, and we always do them by accident, but every time I do a Suboxone show, I get emails from people that tell me this stuff will make your teeth fall out, right? You will get erectile dysfunction. You will never, ever have sex again as long as you live. And they will list all kinds of other things. And they'll talk to me about 9 open lawsuits. I know people who have been taking this stuff for 2 years personally. I know people that have been taking it for 11 years. And I know people that took it for 25 and died with it in their system, but never went back to buying dope from drug dealers, never went back to waiting in parking lots. If you're so offended by drugs, period, like if you're one of those people that says, man, I'm not doing any drug ever again, God bless you. God bless you, man. Best possible case scenario. It's too late for me. When I got off this stuff, I couldn't live. What happened is my brain kicked back into gear and said, something's wrong. Something's wrong. Those receptors don't have anything on them. And then the knees start hurting, right? Pain I hadn't felt in forever. The knees started hurting every day. Getting out of bed was like, because my brain was back to, all right, let's really make his body angry. Only, you know what? At that point, I was like 7 years, 6.5 years sober, right? So I'm like, screw it. I can get through this pain. It's going to go away. I guarantee it's going to go away. I promise you it's going to go away because I understand the mind mechanics. A lot of it is going to go away. The psychosomatic part, for real. The only thing that will still be hurting is the stuff that I actually did something, right? There was a mechanism. Slam the car, fingers in the car door. That's the mechanism. That causes pain. Psychosomatic pain is a year and a half later when my brain says, do the exact same thing to the hand that happened when the door slammed on. You will feel the exact same thing. It's not real, right? Because there's no door slamming on your hand. But the pain is exactly the same. Right? Over time, your body will stop playing those games. So I said, yeah, it'll stop. All I got to do is hang tough. If I'm tough, this will go away. But then something really unique happened. And then I started sitting there thinking to myself, you know what? I would never want to be addicted to drugs again. It'd be a terrible way to live. I love doing what I'm doing. I just could not become that person ever again. I bet I could do it for one weekend. Huh? I bet I could go buy some smack and just do it for a weekend. Just 2 days. And then, if all I did was do it, and then I went, what the hell is going on? Right? I've talked about this on the boat before. That same period of time, Mark Wages was here, my partner. And I put on my headphones, right, to do a live feed. And I looked at the cord and it was like this hanging. Squirrel nut zipper had eaten it. And I was like, oh, you got to be kidding. And I had a window this big. I said to Mark, I'm going to 7-Eleven. And because they sell cheap headphones. I'm like, I'm going to 7-Eleven right now. Don't trip. I'll be back by 5. And I'm smoking up the hill to the 7-Eleven. And I get in there and I grab the stuff off the earbuds off the rack. And I walk up to the counter. There's nobody there. And I'm looking at it's like 5 minutes till. And, and I'm foot still topping up and down and topping up and down and topping up and down and topping up and down. And I said, there's nobody here. I mean, I robbed banks. I promise you I can get out of the store with this freaking headset. And that's about how long it took. Like I grabbed that and went, what the fudge am I doing? I went back over and put the thing on the rack and was like, what the hell? And I got in the car and I told Mark what was up. I said, man, I almost stole this thing, man. Like, no joke. And it wasn't even a decision. I was just like, man, screw this. There's nobody here. I'm taking this. Well, that's I promise you, that's the old me, right? That's the old me. You're going to inconvenience me? I'll just take this and leave. And you know what? I'll grab something else on the way out. Screw you. That was the old me. And I talked to Mark and said, man, I'm not kidding you. I almost stole today. And he said to me, damn, maybe you should, up the Suboxone a little bit or something, right? Maybe something's going on in your brain. I said, no, I'm not on Suboxone. I haven't been taking it in a while. And he's like, well, then I'd start taking it. Didn't take long, people, for criminal thoughts, for all of the things that made me the person that I tell you every day you won't like. If you meet, when I get off this stuff, that's what I turn into. Now, I only take a 0.5 milligram a day. And the only reason I don't go to a 1/4 milligram a day is because my eyes are so bad now that if I cut this into a 1/4 milligram, it's so damn small that I can't, it's hard to locate even on a table, or a plate. My eyes aren't very good. So this is probably as low as I'm ever going to go. When I talk to my doctor next month, I'm probably going to ask him to cut me down from 8s to 4s so that when I start doing the same step down, maybe I can get to a point where, I don't want to be off it ever. Doesn't work. I mean, maybe 5 years from now it will. But this is not much of an inconvenience to be Captain Tommy Scolo, right? I'll be honest with you. I put up with a lot more inconveniences to be Captain Tommy than just taking this. By the way, and if you don't respect me for this and I'm still another guy to you doing dope, I respect your opinion. I really do. I get it. I understand why people want a person completely clean. I get it, especially with opiates. You know why? Because damn it, they deserve to suffer. Right? In their head, they think, oh, we had more fun than anything. Like people like the Howard Stern show. Howard Stern has said for years, if I ever tried one drug, I'd want to try heroin. Because they say it's just like an orgasm for 5 minutes when you shoot dope. It's not. But, they glorify this heroin thing to like that, the top of the food chain for drugs for a reason. Because it's the most evil of all of them. It really is. It's evil. So, but I understand. You think I'm trading one drug for another. And I did. I traded a drug that made me hurt people, steal things, lie, and for all intents and purposes, become the kind of guy that would drop kick a baby through an upright if it meant getting dope, right? Or punch a nun in the face if she's going to keep me from getting dope. Instead, I swapped out for this. And I'm not punching anybody. I'm not stealing things. I'm not doing anything. I made a good swap. Right? I made a really good swap. Nolan Ryan for Jim Fergozzi. Right? This was a good one. People, see you at 5, huh? Make it a great day.